Welcome, friends, to a special episode of Film Sack. It's time for us once again to have somebody out of town and therefore create a roundtable episode about a subject in the film business. Yes, that's right. I'm Scott Johnson with, let's see, who do we have here? Let's do an order that's different than usual because we don't have to do the same thing as always. So I'm going to say it's Brian Ibbett is here. Hi, Brian Ibbett.
Hi, be kind. Rewind.
Yeah, the other Brian Dunaway, he's here as well.
Oh, hi.
That didn't make sense. It makes it sound like there's two Brian Dunaways. That's weird.
There's two. There's two of me.
And then Randy Jordan, of course.
Hi, I'm Randy. I am an underfunded sequel.
Wonderful. Hey, I know what happened to those.
Underfunded.
Yeah, and it's also a good mention because today that is our topic. We are going to roundtable all about the idea of direct-to-video. And you might be thinking to yourselves, well, aren't those all just trash and garbage and there's never been anything of worth? No.
Let's find out.
Let's find out together that that's just not the case. It's just not true. There's some decent stuff that happened that way. So let's get into it. How do you want to start us, Randy? Because you did a little bit of digging on this.
Yeah, it's a phrase that we often say, but over the time that we've been doing Film Sack together, it has changed. Because basically direct-to-video has ended. That's not a thing anymore.
Right.
Where when we started Film Sack, that was still a thing. Direct-to-video is a genre, right? It is a time frame. The time frame starts in the mid-'80s and it ends in the mid-2010s. Around 30 years later, there's no more need to call something direct-to-video because of streaming. So we have this like encapsulation, but what's in there? What are the movies that we refer to when we say that, that was direct-to-video? By the way, is it always a slur? I think we have always kind of used it as such.
We definitely use it as a slur, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know about slur, but a pejorative, I suppose, is the way to take a look at it. But if I told you guys, I told you Starship Troopers, Heroes of the Federation was a direct-to-DVD movie, you might believe me. How about American Pie Presents Bandcamp, the second episode of American Pie? What's crazy about it is, though, much of that movie is not the whole cast returning, but there are some people from the cast returning. What makes these people not want to go straight to theaters? Like, what are the circumstances that condemns a follow-up to a video rack? And I don't know why they ever did this. Like, what was the problem?
Well, I think it's interesting because I think during this time when we're having video cassettes, people were so today you just have a lot of really good content on streaming services. And so there's a way to distribute your made content to everybody everywhere. Back in those days, what you would either have is like cable or, over the air. But the way to really market directly to the home market was through video cassette tapes. And so that's what you would do. You'd be like, okay, this idea we have to capture a little bit more cash with a little low risk, low budget is how you would do it. They were testing the waters mostly, I think, because I don't think it wasn't ever like a huge boom for any of these guys, but it was some money. Like especially Disney really capitalized on it because a lot of those things were being purchased and brought home because that's how Disney was distributing their content at the time, other than their TV shows and stuff. But that's how they did it a lot.
Do you guys have, like, at the top of my head, I have two movies. One in particular, I'll just focus on the one that I think is a great example of something that deserved not only full theatrical, but not the title of being, direct to video. And for me, that's Snowpiercer. This is on this is toward the end of that era of why you would even do direct to video. But 2013 is the year it came out. That movie's amazing. And if you saw it today, you wouldn't go, oh, I bet that wasn't in movie theaters. Like, you just assume it was if you didn't know any better. And to me, that's a weird one. There's other things get cult classic status for a reason, and we can go through some of those, but Snowpiercer belongs in your DVD collection of things you really like, not shit that was an afterthought or couldn't get funding or whatever. Do you guys have one like that? Like
I feel like they fall into two broad categories, right? One is underfunded sequels, and two is good film made by perfectly good filmmakers, but it isn't attached to a major studio. It doesn't have the prestige going in to really find distribution. Yeah. And Snowpiercer is like the best of those. Boon Jong-ho, right? Just unknown filmmaker at the time, right?
Right. Well, known, but not so much to us. I guess. Yeah.
Right.
He had a lot going on in Korea, but yeah, like what's another one that I was thinking of the other day?
It's funny because I went through the list that Randy provided, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, never saw that. Oh, Snowpiercer, that's really good. And then, unfortunately, it's about the only one. I mean, I've seen Boondock Saints is good. I've seen it obviously, and I saw the 2 Stitch movies that we talked about Disney, doing this and living on this practice for such a long time.
Right.
But there were so other few ones because of that stigma that was always attached to it. It's like, oh, it's not very good. It's a direct to video kind of thing. I might as well just avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
And, right.
It's funny what Dunaway said too, because Dunaway basically explained this really well. The world we live in now, that became a prestige thing. We don't call it direct to video anymore, but we have this direct to streaming services and other things like that. And we no longer go, oh, well, if that was any good, that'd be in a theater. Instead, we're like, no, that was a really good movie and it premiered here. And, half the time they get some limited release so they can be on the Oscar list. But these are like, prestige, high value films.
I mean, the brand new Beverly Hills Cop Axel F thing is technically direct to video, right? Didn't go to theaters first. And they didn't even do that thing where they release it one night in theaters so that they can potentially throw it into the Oscar contention list, like they do with some things where it's made for streaming, but we're going to give it a theatrical release day so that we can get Oscar potential for it.
At the end of the day, it just feels like it's I won't want to call it an art, but it's a lost form of distribution. Yeah, because
lost medium to this led to a lost art, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure most of them are. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Most of these are shit.
There's a reason. There's a reason for most of these to go right to
So there was as a consumer of a lot of this straight to video kind of content during the early 90s, it was a way for me to. I didn't have DirecTV, and so this was, and I liked movies more than I liked TV shows, and really the only way to really consume that. Was a little more limited, but I could just go, I could pick up Lady Dragon with Cynthia Rothrock, which kind of, I think some of this kind of came from, because watching a lot of those action movies from the early 90s and on through, because they were doing pretty good. I mean, you got Showdown and Little Tokyo. I don't know. I haven't seen that here yet, but
we need to, though. That's the Dolph Lundgren one. Yeah. Brandon Lee.
Yeah.
I would watch the shit out of that. Let's do it.
Yeah. And so we had there was a very big moment in time where a straight to video was the thing and action was at the top of that. Or if you liked the National Lampoon style kind of stuff, that was also kind of heavy hitter there too, because those are all low budget films that can spark interest.
Do you think it's because like a production company or a studio is like, all right, we knew American Pie would hit in theaters because we're bringing back the rated R, raunchy films from the 80s. There's an appetite for this, but you can't expect sequels to do that well. I just don't know what the decision making process is, because that movie made money in theaters, so why not the follow up? I don't know.
Well, and there's two ways to go with the sequels, and the cynical way is the way we usually go, and it's because movies used to get prestige by being in theaters, and then if someone made The Prophecy 2, even though it starred Christopher Walken, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It went straight to video. You go, oh well, then it must not be good because it doesn't get the prestige of the theater, and maybe it's actually not that bad, right? Like the project of FilmSack is to ask the question: was that actually as bad as we've heard? And then we go watch a straight to video movie like Trick or Treat, and we're all, oh, this has some redeeming qualities. Like,
it's hard to believe that's a straight to video.
I know that is
really
that
good.
was a surprising one. Yeah.
I thought I saw it in theaters, but I've got that all wrong in my head. I'm sure. Yep. I'm thinking of something else. Was that the one with Gene Simmons, or am I thinking of the? Oh shit!
No, that's the one with the.
I'm trying to think of what the Gene Simmons one was.
That was where he was a DJ.
Sending the floater.
No, it was Gene Simmons was in the movie. He played a DJ or something at a rock station.
Interesting.
Oh, it's gonna
This
bug
sounds
me,
familiar. This sounds familiar, but I can't recall it.
Hold
That's
on.
the one we watched for. We also watched that one for. We watched Trick or Treat, but then I think that one might be called Trick or Treat. Is
Maybe-
that the one where all the action is going on? He's just kind of the DJ narrator for the whole thing.
I think so. Oh yeah, it is Trick or Treat. You're right. It's
That's
just
nice.
the normal way
Okay.
of saying it. 86 Trick or Treat, and he played. Let's see, Gene Simmons. Where is he? Nuke. The DJ's name was Nuke.
Oh, that's right. Now I'm recalling this. Wow, I wiped that
Yeah.
from my memory. Thank you for rescarring me. I
Yeah, it's
appreciate
a
that.
bad
Thanks, man.
movie. We saw this in high school because we were so excited because Ozzy Osbourne also made a cameo playing himself.
Right. Like, yeah, on a TV show. Oh, okay. So I watch this for soundography. Hammond and I watch movies occasionally that have a big music component to them because obviously the podcast is about music. And he made me watch this thing, and with the great Match Game staple Elaine Joyce as the kid's mom.
Yeah, we need to see it here at some point. Maybe not too soon because
Yeah.
you just did. But
It's been long enough. It's been a couple of years, so I could watch it. We could certainly tie it in for Halloween this year, October.
sure. So Trick or Treat. We got to get them. We
not
got to
the
catch them
same.
all. We got to catch
Trick
them all.
R being the much better of the two.
Yeah, which is hilariously not in theaters, whereas Trick or Treat was. And so it's like, plenty of movies bad movies make it to theaters, right? That's not an unusual thing to say. But it's always a little surprising when you find a gem in the stuff that came straight home. But I don't know that I ever went to a video store and sought that stuff out. I feel like Dunaway might have, but I never did.
Yeah. Well, I worked at Blockbuster at the beginning of the direct-to-video kind of market as it started kind of becoming. Before then, you couldn't have a direct-to-video because before then, in the 80s, for the most part, videotapes were $80 when they come out. So it would take a while for them to ever make themselves available for, consumer markets. But yeah, straight-to-video stuff was good for me, especially with horror stuff, because the horror you can usually make pretty inexpensively, and probably the biggest part is getting the marketing out there. And when you do straight to video, it's just kind of like we make a deal with someplace like Blockbuster or someplace, and you get it there. That's how you do it, and it's just enough money to make it profitable. Just people trying to squeeze a little bit of money out of a market that was available. You just wouldn't have it now. Just nobody's buying physical media.
Dunaway, did you come up with an absolute favorite? Like, this is the one straight to video movie for you?
Well, funny that we should say that because I thought it was Fatherhood, but then I was corrected last week. That's the one with Patrick Swayze, but actually it did get a theatrical release. And so if you had asked me before then, I would have said that. So I'm going to fall back to Tremors Aftershocks, which is part 2 Tremors, because I was so huge into the series. That's probably it's that whole run that just went straight to video.
Yeah,
right?
we've sacked 1 and 5.
Yeah,
we jumped to part 5, but the whole 2, 3, and 4 are they're all straight to video. Yeah,
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
To the best of my memory.
Do you guys remember Kronk's New Groove? Do you remember that?
So Disney was doing a lot of really fun stuff. I liked So they had what were called.
I like
they mentioned it here.
Groove.
Yeah, the Kronk thing is hilarious.
Yeah.
But Disney was doing a lot of these things where they were doing these articles called midquels, which was like what happened in this space span of time, and now we're going to send that straight to video. Like Lion King 1.5, I think was one of the most popular ones of those.
And Lion King 2. Like Lion King 2 is the king of straight to video crap, and it's the king of cynical stuff. Like Disney is just getting the band back together, putting a bunch of content in a row on a tape,
Right.
There's not, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not good. It's just cynical.
But sometimes they throw all your stuff at it, and you think it's going to be the full deal. Like in Kronk's New Groove, the reason I liked it is they brought really the entire voice acting crew back. It's got Patrick Warburton as your main character, Eartha Kitt, David Spade, John Goodman, Wendy Malick, Brian Ibbett. John Mahoney, there's a really great voice cast, and it's just like
she was just the example, Scott.
That's true. It's just the example. She's just come up a lot lately.
She has come up a lot lately. Yes. Oh gosh, take care of yourself, Wendy Malick.
Yeah, no kidding. But the movie, so I think the story is good. The voices are great. It's funny, but the animation is shit. So this is one thing where I think the Disney stuff sets itself not maybe apart in a good way, but their follow-up direct-to-video stuff is often big savings on the animation front. They just go cheap, and there's less frames. It looks kind of ugly. It's more Saturday morning level, quality or whatever. Clearly, it made them money. They did well with it.
It was a smart formula. What you do is you pick your B tier characters with your B pay scale voice actors, and you pursue the story through that way. And it makes a pretty big impact. Like The Lion King 1.5 was this essentially The Lion King, but told through Timon and Pumbaa's eyes. So, you didn't have to stretch too far for the story. And you probably already had a lot of assets already there. So it was smart. It was just smart was what it was.
They also sequelized everything. Like literally everything. There's a Mulan 2. There's a Pocahontas 2. There's a
Cinderella 3 with time travel apparently that I need to see. Yeah,
but there's only one that was any. Yeah.
Wow.
There's only one good one though, and it was an extremely goofy movie. The Goofy movies were good, and an extremely goofy movie. It was.
I think some of these are really good, and I think Lilo and Stitch 2 should have been a tentpole.
Yes.
Release. Lilo and Stitch 2 is amazing.
But it's another example of really poor animation, though. It's not anywhere near as good as the first one, quality-wise. And that throws me. No. Can't do that,
It's just funny that they know early enough to say, all right, let's do a sequel. Let's not make it a theatrical release. We're going to just go cheap on the animation. And it turns out to be really good. And you think maybe in hindsight they'd say, you know what? All right, let's maybe consider theatrical releases for some of these sequels, and they didn't until just recently. I mean, this year we're getting Moana 2, we're getting
yes.
I'm
excited about that.
Something that's got like a prequel. Is it a 101 Dalmatians or something?
Was it 99 Dalmatians? They already did the 102. They did the 101. Yeah. Boy, you want to talk about getting confused. 101 Dalmatians, 102 Dalmatians, 101 Dalmatians Part 2. It gets confusing. I don't need any more Dalmatians.
Maybe it's not that. Oh, Mufasa. That's the one. We're getting the prequel explaining how Mufasa got his groove. But Inside Out 2, Zootopia 2.
We're going to find out Scar had his scar. We're going to find out that.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the one area you don't see this happen as much. There were some, but early. But the Pixar stuff usually, sequels would make it to theaters, like proper sequels.
Right.
You might have a little extra thing here or there. Yeah, sure. Toy Stories of the world or whatever. But then there's some examples of where maybe they should have, like maybe Cars 2 should have been.
Yes, or Planes for that matter.
Or Planes. Although Planes wasn't.
I shouldn't complain. I shouldn't bitch about it. I didn't like Cars, so I never saw any of the sequels or spinoffs. So maybe those are good, and I just don't want to give them a chance.
Before we get emails, Planes is not Pixar. Planes is pure Disney.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they obviously were capitalizing on vehicles have eyeballs and they talk.
Oh God, I thought it was much more of a connection than that. So it's not even in the Cars cinematic universe kind of thing.
It is. No, it is definitely in the same universe.
Is it? I don't know.
Yes.
I remember hating it.
At one point in time, Mater's flying around. It's great.
I was forced to watch all these movies because of the year of the birth of my child. But I wanted to ask you guys a really fun question. Do you know instantly when I say there is an actor who is the king of direct-to-video movies? Do you know who that is?
Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Nope.
I don't know.
You know what? I like that guess. That's a strong one.
That's a really good guess. Yeah.
It's got to be some kind of. You know what? Can I say Steven Seagal?
No. Although that's not bad because his recent, like his second act, right, has been all direct to video. But this actor is not only in the most I found by a lot, but there was a time for this actor where every movie he was in for like 10, 11 years went direct to video. Like he could not get onto the theater screen to save his life.
Was it Bruce Willis? Is it Bruce Willis?
No.
Oh, okay. I just thought all this stuff that he released in his later years.
I am talking about Dolph Lundgren.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Dolph Lundgren is credited with 37 direct-to-video movies.
Well, we've seen one of them.
And every one of them is great.
Yeah, we've seen at least one of them.
Retrograde, yeah.
Retrograde did ever make it to the theater? Because I was actually wondering about that.
Hell no.
It barely made it to video.
Yeah, that thing sucked. That could not have been further from the desired
That is, by the way, near the end of the decade for 10 years. His movies, The Shooter, Silent Trigger, The Peacemaker, The Minions, Sweepers, Bridge of Dragons, Stormcatcher. These are all direct to video. And it's amazing that he kept doing it, that he kept coming back for it.
Wow.
Money, baby.
Yeah, money.
You gotta survive.
Not a lot of money, but some money. And I love his current stage. I love Dolph Lundgren. Old Dolph Lundgren is my favorite.
Oh, sure. Man. Gritty, grizzly. Yeah.
All those guys. Him, Arnold, and not Stallone, because Stallone looks like a puffy tomato. Something's wrong with him. It doesn't look right on him. But those other guys, Van Damme maybe a little bit, but mostly I guess it's Lundgren and Arnold look just so cool in their old age.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because they didn't do any work. They both looked like normal. Like just old guys that are big.
Right.
And I like that. I respect that.
I like the idea of Schwarzenegger. He does his own facial reconstruction. Like he's in the bathroom with a knife.
Yeah.
Just seems like what he would do.
It does seem like it.
He doesn't need a doctor.
Is there a thing today? So let's just shift the camera a little bit and say, if today this was still a thing, I think you would see more direct to video. And if there is no streaming, let's just take us out of the current internet streaming age for a minute.
Okay.
Right.
But the MCU was still a thriving property thing. I think you would see all of these sequels, though, a lot of them would end up that way. In the way that they make a TV, today's way of doing this is let's make a TV series about WandaVision and
Secret Invasion or She-Hulk or whatever.
Right. In a way, those things are their version of that now, and they do it with their animation as well. They make a series.
And you get the one-offs too, like Werewolf by Night. You know, that would have been a direct-to-video, a direct-to-tape, direct-to-VHS.
Yeah, because you can see how that one would not be a thing you'd see in theaters because that just wouldn't track well. But it would it would be well thought of as a home release in the Snowpiercer way, right? So yeah,
I think your biggies, like your sequels to things like Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, those would be your movie tentpoles. But then I think you would get coming to video Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, you'd get those little the Eternals. Those would be, because they're untested properties and they don't want to risk a big theatrical budget when they could do that with a smaller budget, have to go direct to video and not have as much risk.
Right.
I'm a little disappointed that, I don't know, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. There's more scripted TV shows than there ever been, but I don't feel like the same has happened for movies. And that kind of makes me sad. And I just wish there was more.
Like, what do you think we could see that maybe that can happen on the Tubies of the world or Plutos or something?
Right. I mean, even like the Netflix, like that. The Netflix exclusives and stuff. Now it's all about let's make a movie and it's going to be exclusive to our streaming service, and then later on we're going to resell it to other streaming services. That kind of seems to be the model, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of other things. But I do say that. But then again, there's stuff like Shudder that kind of does provide some of that stuff. Just I don't know. I'm probably wrong. I probably just need to go and dig deeper. It just seems more inaccessible.
Yeah, it's certainly new things, right? Because you can get a lot of the old crap. Right. It's like Tubi alone has so much trash, like direct-to-video trash on it. It's awesome. It's an amazing treasure trove of garbage. But you kind of do have to know what you're looking for, and you don't see a lot of stuff that's new. You know, they tried to Sharknado, like it feels like an attempt. That whole series feels like an attempt to dominate that space. They're never going to go to theaters, or Tremors was kind of this in its day. Tremors won theaters, everything else not, but still well regarded. People like the series, so I don't know what that would be today. What I feel like people don't have a taste for mediocre crap, or maybe they do, and it's all reality TV, I guess. Or there's too much choice, and most of it good. Like so much good choice. It's either that or just go watch Real Housewives of some location.
Right.
I think when you're kind of circling around what are we in right now, it's really hard to know, right? You can see the lines of demarcation. You can see where the home video market creates straight to video, right? And you can see where streaming ends it, right? But it's hard to know what people are doing with all of their entertainment time at any given time. And I can't stop thinking about how earlier this year on TikTok, there was a series of videos by a woman named Risa Tisa called Who the F Did I Marry? And everyone I know watched this series of videos. It was over 8 hours long. And so some people were watching it in like 2x, right?
Right.
But so much entertainment time was taken up by a series of TikTok videos, right? Like so I want to go, is that an era? Are we in the era of people doing that? Or is that just a one-off? It's really hard to know when you're in it.
Yeah. There are things like, I know what I was thinking. I was thinking of Dunaway's old buddy, Snyder, making his stupid moon movies on Netflix. And I'm thinking, this is more of a chance for me to give you a hard time, but Zack Snyder's 2 Rebel Moon movies and a third, I guess, coming. Those are resoundingly and universally not liked. Like even Snyderverse fans don't like it.
Somebody likes it enough for them to keep making more.
And that's my point. Like,
right,
those are it, right? Those are these, and so we do have modern versions of this. It's just what service wants to sully themselves by having them.
I love that in June, someone from Variety asked Netflix, "Hey, is there going to be a Rebel Moon 3?" And Netflix said no. And then they asked Zack Snyder, and he said it's going to be 4 or 6 movies.
Oh my gosh!
Wow. You need to talk to your people, dude.
Yeah, no kidding. I still haven't seen none of those yet. I feel like maybe FilmSack needs them.
Yeah, that's what I think we were waiting, right? We were, at least that's my impression, is that we were waiting for FilmSack to do Rebel Moon, at least the first. Well,
I watched
the
one. I watched most of the first one.
Most of the first. Oh, that's another thing about straight to video. You often just check out, like because of the fact that it didn't go to theaters for some reason. You're like, oh, this isn't good, and you just stop.
It feels disposable, kind of thing,
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So. I'm sorry, I didn't know this before. I knew there were 2 sequels to Stitch that went straight to home.
3, yeah.
But I didn't know there was one called Leroy and Stitch.
Yeah, that's interesting. The third one with a red Stitch, a red evil Stitch. Yeah. And I didn't know about this one either, as a matter of fact.
Okay. Yeah. Well, now your work is cut out for you. You got to watch that.
Apparently so.
If we make it sound like Lilo, then it'll still be the same.
For listeners who don't understand the point, Brian is a gigantic Lilo and Stitch fan, and so he's got to catch them all. He has to see them all.
Exactly. If it's not Spice Girls, it's Lilo and Stitch or MCU. Like it's all those.
It's weird that Disney, for some things, Disney is like, we are absolutely putting these in theaters. And for other things, it's not. Like I'm thinking of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Good
if you're
call.
making the 18th Pirates of the Caribbean movie, it's going to theaters. And I don't understand why that's so different than the 7th Lilo and Stitch movie.
Well, they're also bad in that same way. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, do they do, trying to think of Disney, I'm scrolling through this list really quick. Have they done live action straight to video, or is it always animation, much cheaper to...
That's another good question.
Great question. Yeah. I've got to think something's in there, but I don't know what.
Like a nutty, like an early, their early attempts at live action stuff. The Apple Dumpling Gang 2, we're back at it, straight to video.
Gotta be, right?
Gotta be. There has to be stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Feature.
Not seeing it in this list, but
all right. I found a list on. Okay, boy, you're right about a lot of these.
We could count Tron.
Yeah, you can. Well, yeah, but what's Tron? What's the home Tron thing? There's a home Tron thing.
No, I'm saying it's live action.
Yeah, but it's not direct.
About live action direct to video for Disney.
Yeah, because that was theaters. I saw that twice in theaters.
Okay.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I remember being so blown away that we turned right around and watched it again. I loved it. That thing hit 45 years or something the other day. 45.
Oh, wow.
Something like that. Let's see here. These are all animated. Recess, Cinderella, Hunchback. I'm trying to find just one. There's live action. Here we go. There's a whole list. I found it. Yeah. Honey, we shrunk ourselves.
Oh yeah, those.
Okay.
I forgot about those.
They did those. Okay, so they did do some.
Inspector Gadget 2, George of the Jungle 2, Air Buddies.
That's right.
Snow Buddies.
Oh my gosh, how did we forget all of those?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. How about Beverly Hills Chihuahua 2?
Yeah. Good point.
I mean, some of these are right up till.
You don't even connect those with Disney, really. It's just like,
In fact, okay, interesting. They're the final. They did all those Buddies movies. The final one Disney did, and there's no other since then, has been 2013, around the time we talked about Super Buddies. That was the last one.
Oh yeah, Super Buddies.
I never saw any of those stupid Buddies movies.
I never did either. I figure anything I needed to know, I got in the trailer, and that was it.
Yeah. It's funny though, but when we talked about this as a subject, it didn't hit me how I was going to feel some nostalgia for a thing I actually don't like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's just gone now. It's not going to come back, but it's not like I enjoyed that period. It's not like
I did because my kids, especially the Disney stuff, because that's a fun time for me to remember for that, nostalgia wise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my favorite straight to video movie is super nostalgic for me because I knew people who would get it on Netflix when Netflix sent you DVDs. And then get together and watch it because it was straight to video. And that was the way to watch it. And that is Black Dynamite. Black Dynamite is a legit good movie. It just didn't find distribution to theaters. And I remember going to a friend's house to watch Black Dynamite. They had gotten it on, in the mail.
Right. In the mail. It came to mail.
Yeah. No, I don't remember that one at all. But we're in the case of Snowpiercer, we're all going to have something, even if we don't know it, that we are fond of, especially if we were, kids. I just feel bad because kids today, not that I feel bad. I mean, they just aren't going to know this, I guess, but they will know. Yeah. They will know the trappings of if I go to Netflix and dig deep enough, I'm going to find killer bees from outer space or some shit,
or just anything that they really like on Disney Plus. They're like, oh, they made a sequel to that. This is horrible.
Yeah, yeah. I assume I'm looking at this list. I assume this is all up there now and no longer in the quote unquote Disney vault, right? Can I get all this?
Right. Yeah, there's no everything but Song of the South 2, Back in the South.
Oh, man. Yeah, no kidding.
Doing it again.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Doing it again. Exactly. Slightly less racist.
Like Larry and Stitch. The
Who asked for this?
Right.
Well, there you go. It's a look at, a brief look at the world of today. No, of direct-to-video crap.
The world of yesteryear.
The world of
yesteryear, yeah.
What I like about these episodes, primarily, one is I always like our topics, but two, I always love to hear what people think their favorites were in the areas we talk about. And so in this case, were there things that came straight to video that you were like, oh yeah, baby? And maybe you count things like the Ewok Christmas special, or maybe you count things that are more direct to TV and not necessarily
We're going to
video.
get a lot of love for Boondock Saints, which I know is
It ended up being one of the highest rated straight to video movies ever.
Yeah, and spawned a sequel that I think went to theaters, right? Boondock Saints 2. Or,
did it really? Did the sequel go to theaters?
Boondock something. What was that called?
Boondock something other.
Saints something.
Boondock Centers.
All Saints Day. That's what it was. And it came out in, let me just check. Was this theaters? Yeah, box office. It went to theaters.
Wow. There you go.
And is arguably a much worse movie than the one that went straight home.
Really?
Yeah, wow. I don't think it's very good. I think it's kind of bad. 23% on Rotten Tomatoes, whereas the first movie is like way up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did
waste
people
your time.
come back for that? Did Reedus and
the whole thing. Huh. Yep. It's all prior. What year was this? 2009.
2009.
Almost 10 years later. Crazy.
Wow.
Well, anyway, Sean Patrick Flannery, what's he up to these days? Nothing? No, he's not doing shit. He's just hanging out. Well, anyway, there you go, everybody. We'd love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your comments. Keep those coming. And you can all find all that stuff over at the website, frogpants.com/filmsack, or even filmsack.com. Either one gets you there. All right? That's going to do it for us. And we'll be back next week with, what was the movie?
RoboCop 3.
Watching. I forgot.
RoboCop 3. PG-13 rated RoboCop film. So get ready for that. I don't think Nuke is in this one. The drug Nuke.
Well, we'll see.
That was in 2, but I don't think Nuke made it to 3. I could be wrong. We'll find out together, though, in one Earth Week. Thank you all for watching, for listening, and hanging out with us. We'll see you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Yes. Get more at frogpants.com.
We did it.